There is a moment in every person's life, a strange, quiet, uncertain moment where nothing looks the same anymore. You wake up one day and realize you don't recognize yourself. You're not who you were, but you're not yet who you're becoming. It feels like standing in a doorway between two worlds. Your old life doesn't fit you anymore. Your new life hasn't begun yet. You're stuck in the middle, watching everything you used to depend on loosen its grip, fall apart, or drift away. This is the phase Stoic philosophers understood better than anyone. To them, this wasn't the breakdown. This was the prelude, the moment before transformation takes shape. Marcus Aurelius called it the space between selves. Epictetus called it the necessary disorientation. Seneca called it the trembling before growth. But most people today call it something else. I feel lost, when in reality, this phase is the most important part of your transformation. Listen carefully. When your life is about to change, it doesn't begin with clarity. It begins with discomfort. The ancient Stoics believed that every major transformation has a silent beginning, a period where you question everything: your habits, your purpose, your connection to others, your understanding of yourself, your tolerance for what you once accepted. Suddenly, what used to satisfy you feels empty. What used to distract you feels meaningless. And the people or situations that once felt familiar now feel foreign. And here's the part nobody tells you. This is not the moment you're failing. This is the moment you're shedding. The Stoics taught that growth rarely looks like progress. It looks like confusion. It looks like doubt. It looks like exhaustion, resistance, frustration, and emotional withdrawal. Because before you become someone new, you must first let go of the person you used to be. And letting go never feels peaceful. Seneca wrote, "The mind must be shaken for its form to change." He didn't mean shaken by catastrophe. He meant shaken by the realization that your old life can no longer hold the weight of who you're becoming. This phase feels like you don't belong where you used to. Your motivation disappears. Your plans stop making sense. Your relationships feel different. Your priorities invert. Your sense of identity loosens. You feel suspended, waiting for rice. Something you can't name. But here is the hidden truth. You're not breaking down, you're breaking open. The Stoics believed nature operates in cycles. Winter before spring, darkness before dawn, stillness before emergence, friction before upward movement. And your mind is going through the same process. When a snake sheds its skin, it becomes irritated, restless, disoriented. When a butterfly forms, it dissolves into liquid before rebuilding itself. When a tree grows, its old bark must crack and fall away. Humans are no different. This uncomfortable phase is the cracking of your old identity, so your new one can breathe. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." Meaning, the discomfort you're feeling is not blocking your transformation, it is the transformation. Right now, it may feel like nothing is happening, but everything is happening, internally, silently, precisely. You're not moving backward, you're not stuck, you're not lost. You're entering the most powerful phase of your life, the moment right before everything begins to shift. So, take a breath. Chapter 2. The battle with your old self. Right before your life transforms, something frustrating, almost painful begins to happen. Your old self refuses to die. It clings to you, pulls you backward, whispers doubts, begins negotiations, recycles old habits, reawakens old fears, and tempts you with the comfort you're trying to escape. Stoics understood this inner battle better than anyone. They believed that when a person begins to grow, their old identity rises like a final storm, not because you're failing, but because you're close to outgrowing it. Epictetus said, "It is not the thing you resist that holds you, It is your attachment to who you were. And that is exactly what this chapter is about. The friction you feel is not a sign of failure, it's the birth pain of transformation. There is a moment in this journey where your mind becomes a battlefield. One part of you wants change. You want better habits, better discipline, better peace, better relationships, better direction. But the other part, the old self, fears this change deeply because it knows one truth. If you grow, it dies. And nothing in nature dies quietly, so it fights. It tries to keep you attached to the familiar, the same patterns, same distractions, same people, same identity. This is why you may notice, right before major growth, you suddenly feel unmotivated. You fall back into old routines. You doubt yourself more than usual. You sabotage your own progress. Your emotions fluctuate. You feel pulled back into who you used to be. But Stoics knew this wasn't regression. It was resistance, the clearest sign of progress. Seneca said, "Difficulty shows that the soul is moving. Your struggle is evidence that the transformation is real." Why your old self fights so hard? The Stoics believed your old identity was built for one purpose: survival. Not growth, not happiness, not greatness, just survival. Its habits were formed from fear. Its reactions were shaped by pain. Its beliefs were built from the environment it came from. And the moment you decide to rise above that environment, your old self panics because it knows it cannot follow you there. Think of it this way. You are stepping onto a new path, but your old self has no place on that path. So it does everything it can to pull you back. This is why the moment right before change often feels like life is testing you. Your mind is louder, your emotions are heavier, your progress feels slow. Everything becomes harder, not because the universe is punishing you, but because you are shedding the identity that once protected you. Shedding never feels gentle. The Stoic breakthrough: identity is not fixed. It's chosen. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You are not the person you were yesterday. You are the person you decide to be now." This is the core of Stoic transformation. Your old self fights not because it is powerful, but because it is afraid. And the new self hasn't fully formed yet. You are standing between two identities, the fading one behind you and the emerging one ahead of you. This inner conflict is not a sign to stop, it's a sign to continue. Because if the old you is fighting this hard, it means the new you is dangerously close. A Stoic reminder for this phase: say this quietly to yourself: my resistance is proof of my becoming, because the storm inside you is not chaos, it's construction. Chapter 3. The Chaotic Middle. When your life holds two selves at once, there is a phase in every transformation where life stops feeling linear, it stops feeling organized, it stops feeling like progress. Instead, it feels like everything is falling apart in slow motion. Your habits shift, your emotions swing, your confidence rises and collapses, your mind feels scattered, your direction feels blurred, your days feel stretched between extremes. This is the phase Stoic philosophers called the fragmentation. The moment where your life holds two versions of you at the same time, the person you're trying to become and the person you're trying to leave behind. And this tension creates chaos. Marcus Aurelius described it as a soul expanding faster than its life can rearrange. In simple terms, your inner world is evolving faster than your outer world can catch up. Why this phase feels so messy? When you outgrow old habits, old relationships, old beliefs, or old patterns, your psyche begins rearranging itself. But nothing rearranges cleanly. Some parts of your identity are moving forward. Some parts are resisting. Some parts are confused. Some parts are transforming. Some parts are disappearing altogether. You feel pulled in multiple directions, not because you're broken, but because you're becoming too big for your old life. Stoics believed the self doesn't transform in a straight line, it transforms in layers. One layer releases, another tightens, one rises, another collapses. It's a restructuring, and restructuring always looks chaotic in the middle. Just like a forest looks destroyed before it becomes fertile, a city looks ruined before it is rebuilt, a muscle tears before it grows stronger, a life feels unstable before it becomes aligned. Your chaos is not destruction, your chaos is reconstruction. The emotional symptoms of the chaotic middle Stoics documented these signs clearly, and you will likely recognize them. 1. Feeling unmotivated even when you know what you want, because your old self doesn't want to help you build a life it won't live in. 2. Feeling detached from people you used to feel close to, because your inner world is shifting faster than your outer relationships. 3. Feeling tired without doing much, because psychological transformation drains the body as much as the mind. Feeling confused about what you want, because you're transitioning between two identities that want different things. 5. Feeling distant from your past, but not yet connected to your future, because you're in an identity in between. The Stoics didn't see these symptoms as weaknesses, they saw them as the exact markers of evolution. Seneca wrote, "No tree becomes rooted and strong unless the wind disturbs it. Your discomfort is your strengthening, your instability is your rooting, your confusion is your expanding vision." Why this phase is necessary. Think of your life as a house. You cannot build a new structure on top of an old, unstable foundation. You must tear out the cracked parts, remove the weak pieces, rearrange the rooms, let the dust rise, let the walls shake. The middle always looks worse before it looks better. The ancient Stoics understood that transformation is not attractive, it is not neat. It is not graceful, it is work. Internal demolition, internal rebuilding. Marcus Aurelius said, "Let the unfolding happen. Even chaos plays its role." Meaning, your messy middle is not a mistake, it's part of the design. A reminder for this chapter. Say this to yourself: I am not in chaos, I am in transition. Because the moment your life starts shaking is the moment your foundation is being rewritten. Chapter 4. The emotional storm before the breakthrough. Right before your life rises to a new level, something intense begins to happen inside you. Your emotions grow louder. Small frustrations hit harder. Little things drain you. You feel irritated, sensitive, overwhelmed, or strangely distant. You question your value. You doubt your progress. You worry about things you used to ignore. It feels like your emotional system is malfunctioning. But the Stoics saw this phase differently. They believed the emotional storm is not a sign that you're falling apart. It is a sign that your inner world is rearranging itself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When the mind reshapes itself, it stirs the waters within." In other words, your emotions become turbulent because the old beliefs that controlled them are collapsing. Why your emotions intensify before transformation? Stoics believed your emotions don't react to the world, they react to the meaning you attach to the world. When your identity changes, that meaning changes too. So your emotional system has to rewrite itself. This rewriting feels like anxiety with no clear source, sadness without a specific reason, irritation toward old habits, resentment toward old versions of yourself, restlessness that makes you want to escape your own life, a sense that things are ending, even when nothing is happening. A quiet grief for who you used to be. You're not unstable, you're transitioning. The Stoics compared this emotional turbulence to a clay pot in the kiln, heated, stressed, tested, reshaped, before it becomes strong enough to survive the world outside. You are feeling what you're outgrowing. Stoics taught that emotions spike right before a breakthrough because you're bumping against the limits of your old self. Epictetus explained it this way: the mind is disturbed when it no longer fits the shape it once wore. You can't think like the old you. You can't behave like the old you. You can't tolerate what the old you tolerated. You can't pretend to be who you no longer are. Your emotions are forcing you to shed your outdated identity. This is why during this phase you might feel more emotional than usual, more reactive than usual, more self-aware than usual, more uncomfortable than usual. Your emotions are not misbehaving. They are recalibrating. The Stoic method for handling emotional waves. Stoicism never taught suppression. It taught clarity. The Stoics said emotions become dangerous only when we mistake them for commands. Here's how they approached emotional storms. 1. Observe. Don't absorb. Marcus Aurelius would say, "This feeling is a visitor, not a ruler." 2. Label the emotion. Stoics believed naming an emotion weakens it. I am feeling fear. I am feeling pressure. I am feeling loss. Naming separates you from the emotion. 3. Ask the Stoic question Epictetus taught. Does this emotion belong to the world or to my judgment of it? Most of the storm isn't external, it's interpretation. 4. Return to the present moment, because emotions grow wild when the mind escapes into the future or the past. 5. Let the emotion pass naturally, Seneca said. No storm, even within, is eternal. Your emotions peak not to break you, but to clear space inside you. What this phase really means. Say this softly to yourself. These emotions are not setbacks, they are signals. Signals that your mind is expanding, signals that your identity is shifting, signals that your inner world is preparing for a new structure. You are not regressing, you are not losing control. You are not becoming weaker. You are feeling the weight of what you're leaving behind. Chapter 5. The phase of loss. When life removes what you can't let go of, there comes a point in your transformation where life starts removing things from you. Not gently, not slowly, not politely. It takes them. People disappear, old habits fall apart, comforts become empty, plans collapse, routines break, your old motivations fade. The world around you begins shedding pieces of your identity without your permission, and your first reaction is usually fear. What's happening to me? Why is everything changing? Why am I losing so much at once? Why do I feel like parts of my life are dying? The Stoics understood this phase with brutal clarity. They believed that before you rise to a new level, life strips away anything that cannot come with you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What is removed is no longer needed for the path ahead." You don't lose things because you're being punished. You lose them because you're being prepared. Why? Life takes things away during transformation. You're stepping into a new version of yourself, but your old life was built for your old self. And the universe, or nature, depending on how you see it, begins clearing space. Seneca explained it this way: nothing new can grow where the old still stands. So the clearing begins. You may lose old friendships that were based on your past identity, connections built on weakness, not truth, habits that kept you small, goals that were created from fear, not purpose, ways of thinking that once protected you but now limit you, emotional dependencies that drained your strength, environments that no longer match your inner world. These losses feel painful because they feel personal, but the Stoics insisted they are structural, not personal. You are outgrowing things that were never meant to be permanent. The illusion of stability. People often mistake stability for comfort, but the Stoics said stability is often just emotional stagnation, habitual repetition, familiar suffering, predictable limitation. When your soul begins to expand, the life you built during a smaller phase of your existence can no longer hold you. So it breaks. Not to punish you, to free you. Think of a snake shedding its skin. The skin doesn't fall off because something is wrong with the snake. It falls off because something new is growing underneath. Loss is the shedding. Why this phase hurts so much? The Stoics believed pain doesn't come from loss itself. It comes from attachment. Epictetus said, "When you cling, you suffer. You are not grieving the thing. You are grieving the identity tied to that thing. You are grieving the comfort of who you used to be, the predictability of your old life, the familiarity of patterns, even painful ones, the illusion of control. The past version of yourself you were forced to outgrow. You are not losing your life. You are losing the version of it that can't take you to the next chapter." The Stoic shift: loss is guidance. Marcus Aurelius believed that life removes things with intention. He wrote, "What falls away is making room for what is coming," meaning, loss is not a closing, it's a clearing. A clearing for new people, new habits, new values, new levels of strength, new opportunities, a new relationship with yourself. Loss is direction. Loss is redirection. Loss is transformation disguised as disappearance. A reminder for this phase: say this quietly to yourself: if it left my life, it was not meant for my becoming. Because the things that fall away now are the things that would have held you back later. You are not being stripped, you are being refined. And in Chapter 6, you'll learn why, during this clearing, your identity begins to shift so dramatically that even you may not recognize yourself, and how the Stoics navigated that profound inner change. Chapter 6: The Identity Shift. When you no longer recognize yourself, there comes a point in your transformation where the deepest change of all begins not in your habits, not in your environment, not in your relationships, but in your identity. You look in the mirror and feel a strange distance. You think thoughts that surprise you. You want things you never wanted. You stop wanting what you once chased endlessly. Your reactions shift. Your values evolve. Your inner voice becomes unfamiliar. It feels like you are standing face to face with a version of yourself you don't fully know yet. The Stoics understood this stage and considered it sacred. They called it metanoia, a fundamental shift in the way you see the world, yourself, and your place within it. Marcus Aurelius described it as the soul reshaping itself to fit a higher form. But to you, in the moment, it feels like confusion, like psychological disorientation, like your old self is dissolving faster than your new self can form. And that is exactly what's happening. Why this identity shift feels so unsettling. Your identity is the center of your entire inner world. It determines how you think, how you react, how you connect, how you interpret experiences, how you define success, and how you navigate life. So when your identity changes, everything else must shift with it. The Stoics believed identity is not fixed, it is chosen, continuously, consciously, or unconsciously. But transformation forces this choice into the open. This is why, during this phase, you suddenly question your old ambitions. You feel disconnected from your past. You have less tolerance for shallow interactions. You want peace more than validation. You prefer solitude over draining company. You become more intentional with your words. You outgrow environments you once felt comfortable in. What's really happening? Your inner architecture is being rebuilt. Your new self is taking shape. The old identity isn't dying quietly. Your old self doesn't disappear peacefully. It negotiates. It whispers. It tries to pull you back into familiar patterns. It says, "You're changing too fast. You're losing who you are. You're becoming someone people won't understand. You're leaving everything behind." The Stoics warn that the old identity often tries one final strategy. It convinces you that growth is loss. But the truth is the opposite. Growth is release. Growth is expansion. Growth is liberation. You're not losing yourself. You're losing the version of yourself built from fear, survival, ego, and past wounds. The new identity is forming in silence. Identity doesn't shift with loud, dramatic moments. It shifts quietly, in nights of reflection, in small choices, in decisions you don't announce, in the quiet refusal to repeat old patterns, in the peace that comes from self-respect, in the boundaries you never used to set, in the strength you took time. Discover in solitude. Your transformation becomes visible, long after it has already begun. The Stoics believed this stage is the rebirth, the moment the soul steps into a larger container and refuses to shrink again. Seneca wrote, "As the mind grows, what suited it once now constrains it. You are outgrowing your own past." The Stoic reminder for this stage say this softly: "I am becoming someone I have never been, and that is why it feels unfamiliar." This unfamiliarity is not danger, it's expansion. It's the early shape of a self that is wiser, calmer, stronger, and more aligned. Your identity is not falling apart, it is unfolding. Chapter 7, The Final Test. Life checks. Whether you're truly changing right when your identity begins to shift, right when you start acting differently, right when you feel new strength forming inside you. Life tests you. Not lightly, not gently, but with precision. The Stoics believed that every transformation comes with an examination, a final trial, to see if you've actually embodied the change, or if you were simply imagining progress. Marcus Aurelius described it as life bringing the old temptations to the new mind. In simple words, life will send you the exact situations you struggled with before to see if you respond as your old self or your emerging self. And this test always arrives at the most inconvenient time. Why life tests you when you're growing? The Stoics didn't believe in random misfortune. They believed in alignment between inner growth and outer challenge. As you rise internally, the world mirrors your progress externally. Here's how it works. You develop new boundaries, someone tests them. You practice emotional control, something triggers you. You leave a toxic pattern, the pattern shows up again in a new disguise. You choose peace, chaos appears to see if you can hold it. You commit to discipline, temptations grow stronger. You value yourself more, someone tries to pull you back into the old role. Life's test is simple. Have you changed in theory? Or have you changed in practice? Epictetus warned his students, "You do not know your progress until your old weaknesses stand before you, and they will stand before you." The return of what you thought you outgrew right before your transformation stabilizes. The past returns. Old emotions reappear. Old urges sneak back in. Old habits tempt you. Old relationships reach out. Old insecurities whisper again. Old patterns rise from the ashes. Not because you're failing, because you're being measured. This is the Stoic trial. To see if your boundaries hold, your peace remains, your clarity stands firm, your discipline is real, your growth is rooted, your identity is truly transforming. Marcus Aurelius believed that tests do not obstruct transformation, they Marcus Layla. Finalize it. He wrote, "The obstacle is the confirmation. why these tests feel so emotionally heavy. They hit the deepest part of you, the part you've worked so hard to change. That's why the discomfort feels so sharp. It's not the situation itself that hurts, it's the fear of slipping back into who you used to be. But the Stoics taught something powerful. You don't go backward by feeling triggered, you go backward by acting like the old you. Feel the emotion, but don't return to the pattern. That's the victory. How the Stoics passed their final tests. Here is their method. 1. Pause before responding. Aurelius said, "Give yourself the briefest moment. Freedom lives in that pause." 2. Ask the Stoic question, is this the old me or the new me responding? 3. Choose the response that aligns with who you're becoming. Growth is a choice, repeated under pressure. 4. Expect tests. Don't be surprised by them. If you expect challenge, you stay grounded. 5. See every test as refinement. Seneca wrote, "Fire tests gold, misfortune tests the strong. The moment life tests you is not a setback. It's proof you're nearing the breakthrough." A Stoic reminder for this chapter. Say this softly. The return of my old challenges means my transformation is real. Life is not trying to pull you backward. Life is checking whether you're ready to move forward. And in Chapter 8, you'll discover what happens after these tests, the moment your transformation becomes real, stable, grounded, and undeniable, inside and out. Chapter 8, The Breakthrough. When you finally become who you were meant to be, there comes a moment, quiet, subtle, almost invisible, where the transformation you've been working toward finally settles into place. It doesn't arrive with fireworks. It doesn't arrive with applause. It doesn't arrive with a dramatic scene that announces your evolution. It arrives in small signs, small choices, small shifts that tell you something profound. You're not the person you used to be. The Stoics believed true transformation becomes visible only after the inner battle is over. Marcus Aurelius described it as the calm after the reordering of the soul. And that is exactly what this final phase feels like. A calm you didn't have before, a clarity you didn't think was possible, a sense of direction that feels natural instead of forced, a quiet strength that doesn't need validation, a new identity that finally feels like home. How you know you've reached the breakthrough? The Stoics said transformation can be recognized not by your achievements, but by your responses. Here are the signs they documented, signs you may already feel emerging. 1. You no longer fight the wrong battles. Things that once consumed you now feel trivial. Your energy is no longer wasted on people or situations beneath your growth. 2. You stay calm in moments that used to break you, not because you suppress emotion, but because you're no longer controlled by it. 3. You choose long-term alignment over short-term comfort. This is the moment discipline becomes natural instead of forced. 4. You stop chasing things that drain you. Validation, approval, old patterns, old people, old identities. They no longer fit. 5. You feel a sense of inner stability, not perfection, stability, a groundedness that wasn't present before. 6. You no longer fear losing things that aren't right for you, because you understand deeply that loss is not punishment, it is refinement. These are the markers of a soul that has reorganized itself. The Stoics believed this is where life truly begins. According to Seneca, transformation is not about becoming invincible, it's about becoming inwardly unshakable. He wrote, "The greatest victory is mastery of the self." When you reach this stage, you realize something powerful. You can handle change, you can handle uncertainty, you can handle loss, you can handle life. Because your strength no longer comes from control, it comes from clarity. Your peace doesn't depend on circumstances, it depends on who you've become. The world won't notice first, but you will. Your transformation won't reveal itself through grand displays. It reveals itself through the conversation you walk away from calmly, the temptation you resist without struggle, the boundary you set without guilt, the old habit you don't return to, the chaotic moment you navigate with grace, the pain you process without collapsing, the challenge you face with composure. These are the signs, not loud, but undeniable. This is the moment the Stoics called the stabilization of the new self. You have stepped into a stronger version of yourself, one that isn't built on fear, chaos, pressure, or survival, but on presence, understanding, discipline, wisdom, and unshakable inner strength. A final Stoic reminder: say this softly, I did not change suddenly. I changed because I chose to rise. This is the completion of the cycle. The confusion, the chaos, the loss, the emotional storms, the identity shift, the tests. They were not signs of destruction, they were signs of construction. You have stepped out of who you used to be and into who you were meant to become. Your breakthrough has already begun.